Okay, everyone, as you can see before me, I have another theme. It looks like it's a red, white, and blue patriotic kind of theme with the stars and stripes and red, white, and blue. And so I'm just going to put this together like I did with the Christmas apron. So stay tuned. So I got my fabric laid out for the top part of my apron pattern, which I am going to cut out. Okay, so I've got my pattern laid out, which I have copied from an old apron that I already have and really just basically trace the apron. So if you have an old apron around, you can definitely copy. And on this side, I just went down about 5 inches and I'm basically working off about 1 yard of fabric for this particular print. Okay, and so I'm just going to get ready to cut everything. Okay, so I have the first part of it cut, and notice that my seam allowance is 1 inch big. It's wide because I am actually going to turn it twice to sew it from this part. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this aside, but it's all cut, ready for the next piece. So at the other end of the fabric, I am going to cut one of the ruffled panels, just one for this particular fabric since I got the top part cut. And it's going to be 8 inches wide and it's going to be as long as you can see here. Okay, so my top tier or ruffle is going to be 7 inches wide all the way across. And my bottom 10 inches all the way across. I also cut my waistband strap, which is 2 inches in width and as long as I can get it. You might have to attach, depending on how long you need it to wrap around, attach another piece. And I've also got my neckband strap, and that's 3 inches in width. And that is probably, because you're cutting it too, but I made mine close to like 48 inches long. Okay, so the first step I'm getting ready to do here is going to be with my apron top piece. I'm just going to basically turn down the edges from all the way here, all the way around here to the side piece. I'm basically going to just turn it down a 1/2 inch or 1/4. Probably best because I did cut it for about 1 inch big, but depending on how much of a seam allowance you give yourself, or you can finish it with some kind of a serge stitch or zigzag. And I'm going to turn it down again. So that's about 1/4. That's about 1/2. I'm going to turn it down another 1/2. And I am going to do that all the way around. I'm going to do the same thing here all the way through. Okay, so now I've sewn my apron top, and this is pretty much what it looks like on the other side. Just turned it down twice, where you can see no raw edge showing, and pretty much I left the bottom free. And I'm going to get started with the next part, which is going to be one of these. I'm going to go ahead and start sewing these. I'm going to go ahead and match this. So now I am going to match this right sides together, and I'm just going to put a little bit of a little stitch here, 4th, hopefully not too much, so I can turn this right side out. So along with my waistband straps, I'm going to do my neckband straps too. I'm going to also face that right sides together, but I'm going to put like a little tip at both ends of it. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this down. Obviously, I'm going to fold this down like this, back the other way. It's kind of hard to see on this navy, but it's pretty much folded like that. And then I'm just going to make a point. So I'm just going to fold that down even further, basically where I can create kind of like a little bit of a point, because I wanted to have like a little point shape on my neck strap. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up. So I've got my neck piece sewn as well already, and I'm just going to turn it out and turn both sides and get ready with the next step. So I got my straps done, but oh my goodness, let me just say, I don't know why, but anyways, it's really hard to turn about 48, 50 inches in length of a strap that is very narrow with a safety pin, and it takes time. So if you prefer to turn your raw edges in and then press and then sew everything down, go for it, because it probably would be a lot easier and shorter in the long run, and it might even look as neat or neater, and you can get a little bit more narrow than this. But I went ahead and did that this way, and that's what I did on my other one. But I'm gonna go ahead and keep going with this part. Now this strap for your neck is gonna be a little long, and everybody's will be different. I cut this one, like I said, probably actually I can't even remember. So I'm gonna cut it right where I put my pen, but you're gonna see in just a second how that works out. Okay, so I got my straps laid out. This one on this side here, it doesn't matter which way you want to wrap yours or have yours longer. It's going to be the longer side, and it is 30 inches in length, and this one here is about 18. But this is still going to be good to be adjustable, so I just kind of got a roundabout size of how it would work, you know, if somebody else was wearing it besides me. So I'm just basically going to take this at the top here, and I'm gonna flip it this way. I got my seam. I don't think that really matters either, but I just decided to put my seam facing on the inside. So I'm just gonna put it here. Okay, so this part is done. Let me show you exactly what I did here. I tried to make sure when I had it facing up, I sewed right on that line that was already sewn on in the beginning. And then when I flipped it back up, I kind of got really close to the edge, and I turned it around and I stitched on the top. And so there you have, you could even do a zigzag stitch to kind of keep it on there a little more stable. And that's the top part of that. So now I'm going to get to the bottom of this with the pleats, or ruffled, I guess. Okay, so now I'm getting to the bottom part of my apron, the gathered skirt. And as you can see here, I went a few steps already to kind of get ahead so I can explain everything at once. I went ahead and I turned this in twice and sewed it down. And I went ahead and put my hems in all 3 panels. And now I'm going to show you what I did for the gathering, or prepping for gathers. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it, but I'm just going to show you the first way I've ever learned how to put gathers in my, but I'm just going to go ahead and do this on camera. What I did here was I created 2 long stitchings. I put my stitch length at a 4. It's the biggest on this particular machine that I have. So it's really big enough so it's going to be able to gather the skirt in. And I made sure I sewed both lines about 1/4 of an inch apart from one another. You're not really going to see too much of it, so it doesn't matter if you sew it too close to the edge. You don't want to get too close to the edge, it's going to fall right off. But anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these in, and also remember to leave a tail. This one got cut for some reason. Leave a tail attached that's pretty long on both sides. I would suggest that you leave a tail on both ends, so you don't want to cut it too short, because it's really hard once you it's better for you to pull, and then once you get to the end, you don't want to lose it on that side as well. So I'm gonna get this started and show you on all 3 of them and then get right back. And that's all I'm doing basically, is I'm just taking the 2 threads and I'm pulling gently. I'm not pulling too hard because I'll snap them threads and you got to start all over. So just be really careful. I'm used to it, so I know usually how much I can pull, you know, for the most part. And just kind of pulling it all the way through, getting it all the way to the ends basically, until right. So now that I got all of my panels gathered in for my ruffled skirt, I'm going to get started with each one now. Okay, so as you can see, I have my apron top laid down on the table, and I'm going to start with my longest panel, which is going to be the bottom panel. And as you can see also, or maybe you cannot see, I went ahead and put 2 chalk lines here all the way across. They're pretty much evenly spaced. This is pretty much spaced from here, kind of a little different there. But I kind of did 3 lines, and I started from, obviously bottom is going to match with the bottom. But up here, I did maybe 1.5 inches from that curve, and I did a straight line all the way across. It just, the way it hits, I mean, I tried it to my particular waist, you know, or where my... Okay, so basically I have my bottom panel. I'm just going to roll it out. I've got it all gathered in, and the thing is, I'm probably going to end up letting some of these gathers out because I made it tight enough to where I feel like it would fit in here. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm attaching this upside down, obviously right sides together, because it's probably the easiest to attach it and just let it fall. So basically, I'm going to attach it to the edge of this here, and I am going to pin it. Okay, so I have a pin in both sides of here, as you can see, and then a pin here. So I'm basically just going to fit it to it. So if it's too big, I'm going to gather it more, or if it's too if the bottom panel is too wide still or too big, I'm going to basically let some of these gathers out so it can lay flat together. But right now, honestly, this is pretty much close to perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin all of this down to the edge right here. I'm going to meet right there. And then make sure my gathers are pretty much even all the way through. You don't want a lot of concentration in one area. You want to kind of make it evenly spaced. So it'll... Okay, so I got all 3 pinned down. And now just a note here, my line that I made on the apron is basically my sewing line. That's where I'm going to sew it down. So I moved it down 1/2 inch, basically where my gathered stitches are. So I can at least cover up, I mean, both of them if possible. But it really doesn't matter because the top one is also going to have your waistband on it. So if you make that as well, you're not going to really see the stitching. But I'm basically going to sew all 3 panels on. Okay, so what do you think so far? It's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm just going to get to this last part. But I want to say real quick, if you want to hold off to do your hem at the very end just to see how far apart or how far up you want it hemmed, you might want to wait for that. But I am going to go ahead and get started on the waistband. So this is pretty much attached. I got my waistband in my hand, my drawstring. And another thing is, if you prefer, you could easily do this with ribbon as well. I mean, honestly, it'd be faster. You don't have to sew any of this stuff. I actually tried to look for some ribbon, but honestly, I was trying to use everything I had in-house because that's really what my projects are going to be all about, is using everything in-house and not showing or going to the fabric store for a while. So anyways, that's my goal. That's actually my 2021 thing. It's not running back and forth to the fabric store because I have a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to start to implement all those things and turn those into projects. So anyways, I'm going ahead to fold it in half, my drawstring, and I'm going to make sure I mark it. Probably just going to I'm going to find the center by putting this in half, just finding the center and just putting it down. And I'm just going to go ahead and sew that down basically right there where the seam is, like, well, not sew it in the seam. I'm just going to sew at the very top. I'm not going to sew in the middle, down below. I'm just going to sew a little stitch at the top and just leave it as that. That should be good enough. All right. Okay. See, I got everything sewn. I got my waistband on, which is obviously my, my string, my, waistband string. And I have a jungle of threads everywhere, so I'm just saving all that for the last, but you want to trim as you go, obviously. You don't want to get tangled in threads. And so another thing I want to point out I didn't create a pocket, and I really wanted to because I did it on my other one, but you know, it's not really a purposeful pocket, so I didn't want to include it in the video. So this here, you can't probably see it, but check it out. I got like a little hook here. So here, while I was sewing the band on, is I basically did a straight stitch, as you can see, really close. And then when I got to this point, I just basically backstitched and left a little bit of a gap, backstitch and continued. And then I also put like a little indent here and there so I can kind of hold it down. But this is probably going to be good for maybe my towel. I'm going to stick a towel in there and have it to hold because I'm always wiping my hands on something when I'm cooking. But this was really just for fun because I do like to cook. But obviously I was doing it to inspire, hopefully, and maybe... So maybe you would want to try this. Who knows? You might want to make a mommy and me. This would be something good for a little girl. You know, she wants to help mom cook. So make a matching mommy and me type of apron. I can see, you know, somebody young that wants to wear something like this in the kitchen. I thought it was really cute. And then have themes for the year, you know, just have fun with it. Like I said, I got my Christmas one that I had a theme of with a pocket. And then as you can see, this one looks like it could be like a 4th of July, maybe even a New Year's kind of thing. It's patriotic, you know. And so it looks really cool. You know, it turned out really good. And obviously I'm gonna have a few shots of what it looks like all together on a form so you can see it. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It's more to inspire. You know, I'm trying things all the time. You know, I don't always make aprons, but you know, I'm doing different things here and there. And hopefully I can help or be assistance if you need any, if you have any questions, or if you have any suggestions or anything I could have done differently, or just leave a comment and tell me what you think about this project if you're thinking about trying it. And as always, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please subscribe and like this video, and take care and have a good one.